Session. Today is November 15th, 2021, and first on the agenda with city updates is Ms. Solano. Ms. Solano?
Good evening, Chairman Ayla, City Council members. The mayor isn't able to attend the work session this evening. I do have several updates, but I can speak really fast and I'll go through them quickly. Daryl is pulling up for us the release today from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. This is a COVID update and a Thanksgiving Day guidance flyer. The flyer will be distributed widely in Pueblo on social media, via email to both chambers for redistribution to membership, to our nonprofits for distribution to members, to schools for sharing on their public portals, and any place else that we can figure out how to get the word out on some Thanksgiving Day guidance with respect to COVID. I think it's on the screen for planning ahead, a booster dose, get tested, travel safely. Don't forget your mask, remind your guests if you're exposed, and it's a nice day in Pueblo to open up doors for ventilation. I do have the 1 week positivity case update that was updated today about 4 o'clock. It is 556.3 for the last week, which was similar to last Monday at 552.8. The 1 week positivity rate is 11.1%. We do have 5 days of stabilized hospitalization. I do not have the hospitalization patient count this evening, but I was in a meeting at 3:30 this afternoon in the Pueblo Department of Public Health and Environment. Noted in the meeting that 50% of the COVID patients at Parkview are under 40 years old. So the patient age range has shifted downward significantly from previous weeks. Tomorrow, Tuesday, November 16th at 3:15 p.m., you were invited to a briefing from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, and I think from the governor's office. And the email sent out on Friday with a link to that briefing. I think it begins at 3:15 tomorrow afternoon. They asked for public officials to extend the invitation. Today, a new health order was released by CDPHE and also a press release with respect to antibody treatment now being available in Pueblo. Both links to the health order and the antibody flow diagram for consideration of eligibility are available on the PDPHE website at pueblohealth.org. And we will also place it on the city's website and the city's social media Facebook page. And both the Director of Health, Mr. Randy Evans, and Dr. Urbina, they'll attend next Monday's work session for an update on COVID and then to be able to answer any questions, as next Monday's work session is also a taped session, and it will be available live stream on Facebook as well as on Comcast channel 17 and to be replayed as well as live. The COVID vaccine bus at the elementary schools is active this week. On the 19th, it will be, that's Friday the 19th, it will be at Morton Elementary School on the north side of town from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Also an update, last Thursday, November the 10th, the mayor released a mayoral order that would require all new employees as of that date to be vaccinated for employment within the city but had qualifying exceptions for so religious exception, proof of positive antibody tests, or medical exception. I believe that order was forwarded to all of you last week as well. Let me continue. With respect to ARPA update, the 4 that presentations you heard last week will be on City Council's agenda for passing next Monday. But there will also be 3 additional ones that have come up that have an urgency to them. And I will forward to you their ARPA requests as well as the subrecipient agreement as Dan forwards them out to all of us. It is the pastor of Martin Luther King Church, Paul Montoya, who will be assisting in serving the overflow overnight warming shelter within the winter months as needed. And that will come before you next Monday. The Pueblo Poverty Foundation, it's the food basket and book giveaway for elementary students in the Bessemer area at 3 schools. The event is December 16th, and it is known as Ray Aguilera's Bessemer Extravaganza. And the third is the Pueblo Grocery Property LLC. And you heard from the Eastside Grocery presentation from Mr. Mike Hartop some weeks ago. And Dan is working on all of those subrecipient agreements. The 4 that you approved to move forward from last week were Access Point, the Care and Share, Pueblo Transit, and the Southern Colorado Harm Reduction to help with housing resources in the rental application fees. And I've saved the best update for last. The Pueblo Food Project had an incredibly successful Sun, Soil, and Water Conference this past Friday evening was the awards ceremony, and Saturday the conference date. It was really wonderful that the Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, he actually prepared a video message to welcome for the conference, and with great support for all the efforts that are being done in Pueblo County with respect to the food systems and connection to agriculture, access, education, advocacy, the environment, and water. So he shared a nice message. Later in the day, we had a surprise from the AG, Mr. Phil Weiser, who actually came to present a $250,000 grant that is coming out of the Federal Department of Agriculture to Pueblo for the Pueblo Food Project. So that was a wonderful surprise. He also read and brought a letter from Senator Bennett that I will bring to City Council next week. There is I believe, a couple of grants on the agenda from the Pueblo Food Project. So I wanted to share congratulations to Monique Mares, the Pueblo's food strategist, and to the full Pueblo Food Project stakeholder group. I told you I could do that quickly, and that concludes all the updates this evening. I can take any questions or direction for presentations for next week or updates for next week.
Thank you, Ms. Solano. Any questions? Councilor Atencio?
I didn't hear the positivity rate for the last week or so.
11.1%. It went up.
How much?
11.1%.
It was 10.7 last week.
It was 10.7 last week.
Goodness gracious.
Comments, questions? Councilor Flores?
We had a discussion about my 2 ideas, but it seems that would be more appropriate for our city council meeting on Monday. Is that okay? Or I think what I'll do, what I was talking to Laura about was a couple of things that I've been thinking about. One is our cable channel television. It just seems like somewhere down the line, we need to do a study on how we can make that channel really utilized on the benefit of the city and the city council to communicate with our citizens. If you look at that channel, I mean, they're rotating stuff on there that was filmed 10 years ago. And it's very difficult to find out when the reruns of the city council meetings are. And I'm not proposing that we do this now, but potentially at our next, during our next budget cycle, that we maybe look at hiring a consultant on how that government channel could be utilized more effectively. And I think somewhere down the line, they can tell us, how we can improve it, how we can communicate with the citizens better. So that was one of my ideas. And the other was an idea that I had at our retreat, and that was hiring an internal auditor that has their own autonomy to just act almost like a risk manager in making sure that, every department is running like they should, that we're complying with all our contracts. And so I'll be bringing that up at our next meeting, and I'll send you both my concept papers that I did during the retreat so that it'll give you a little bit more idea of what I'm talking about. That's all I have.
And we also have a budget work session time planned for this evening.
How's it going with the public relations person? That's
I'm glad that you asked, and I should have updated you. The Director of Public Affairs, it closed last Friday. The review team recommended 4 for interview, and the interviews are scheduled this coming Thursday. If today's the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, the 18th of November, we will be interviewing 4 with the outcome of those interviews, the recommendation to the mayor for interview at his level. So I would think that by December the 1st, with luck, we'll have a Director of Public Affairs on board.
great. Questions? Councilor
I
Wynn?
have a question.
Go ahead, Council.
Yeah. Well, Thank you. Laura, how many patients are in the hospital with COVID? Do you have that number?
They did not have that number, Councilor Winter, at the meeting this afternoon. They sent the email asking what the person that usually has that number is from the sheriff office that attends the meetings, and she had a death in the family and did not attend today. So I still have that email out, and as soon as I get it, I'll forward it electronically.
Okay, all right. And then also,
It was over 90 as I last checked on Friday.
Over 90, okay. And then you mentioned new hires that they could have a positive antibody test. So are you saying that proof of COVID recovery is acceptable for new hires?
Yes, it is one of the exceptions to having a evidence of a vaccine.
Good, good. I'm glad to hear that's finally being recognized. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Solano. We'll move on to number 2 on the agenda, which is the EPA update, the Colorado Smelter Superfund site. Is anybody here for that?
Hi there. This is Beth Archer online. We are ready with our presentation. Do you want us to jump on in? I think I can share my screen. All right. We will go ahead and get started. Oh, I think they have disabled screen sharing. So I believe we sent in the presentation in advance, or if the host can give me access, I'm happy to share the presentation.
You're enabled. Go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Oh, so sorry. Let me get the right screen. Okay. All right. Are you all seeing? Oh, excuse me.
Yes.
Okay. Can you see which screen are you seeing? I'm so sorry. Are you seeing the one with the black that says slide 1 out of 11, or
Yes.
just the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Apologies.
All right, this is
All right,
Sabrina,
thank you.
Sabrina Forrest here, the lead remedial project manager from EPA. And I'll start out, I'll be handing it off to Beth a couple times and then over to Doug Jameson with the state of Colorado. Moving on to slide number 2. I want to thank you all very much for having us here today for an update. It has been a little bit since we've been here, so we'd like to give you an update on operable unit 1 and the residential area updates, study area expansion, last call efforts, the former smelter area operable unit 2 updates on that, as well as ongoing enforcement activities. Slide 3. This is for you, Beth.
All right, thank you so much. So some general updates about the residential area or operable unit 1. We have a new, excuse me, a new state project manager, Sarah Graves. She is on the call today as well. So we have welcomed her to the project. We are continuing to do residential cleanup and residential sampling. Despite COVID-19, we have a robust safety protocol in place, and we have weekly check-ins with our contractors to go over the safety protocols and see what the numbers have been. We did award a new sampling contractor in June of this year, so they have been hitting the ground running, really making great progress on that sampling. And then when it comes to community involvement, we are continuing to collaborate with the state and local health departments. We have representatives from both of those groups here tonight as well. We did get to do 3 door-to-door efforts because that has been shown to be pretty effective for the Pueblo community. So we were able to go and knock on people's doors in April, May, and October to encourage residents to sign up for both sampling and cleanup. From those efforts, we did get 95 sampling access agreements and 4 cleanup access agreements. That's really great progress for us. And we did have a obviously strict COVID safety protocol during those outreach events. And speaking of COVID, we are working through virtual CAG meetings. So we're meeting with the community advisory group through Zoom. And beginning in September, actually, we started recording these meetings and then posting them on YouTube. So that's a new process that we're doing. The CAG, the community advisory group, fully supported that. That way folks who are not able to attend the community advisory group are able to watch the videos later and go back and replay things. The last update is about the Pueblo Health Department, where they are currently pausing the blood lead testing because there have been some issues with the blood lead tests that they use. There had been a issue with the lead tests, and then they reordered some, and there was an issue with that batch as well. So they paused them because there's not a benefit to ordering them and not being able to use them. So we have paused that for right now. They're still looking at ways that they can work with families and get that blood lead testing done, but that's currently paused right now. And I am going to pop over to slide 4, Sabrina.
Thanks. So in operable unit 1, we had a slight study area extension in September based on where we had cleanups that were needed right at the edge of the property. So you can see on the figure there where the dark dashed black map is, that was the former study area boundary. And this is a part of our normal due diligence to look at where we think contamination from the smelter might be located. And so that little bump out there is to try to identify areas where we needed cleanups and then try to get to a clean margin in those areas where we bump that out. So we've got about 100 additional properties that are pulled in. This includes the Minnequa Park Apartments, a HUD property, and we are collaborating on other things with our HUD partners as well as this property. This is just, again, part of our normal due diligence and a normal part of the process to understand where contamination might be located. It isn't expected to add any delays in our residential sampling and cleanup completion timelines, which is really good. I'm going to hand this back over to you, Beth, for slide number 5.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that unmute there. So when we're looking, this is looking at last call. So we're getting closer to being finished with sampling and cleanup for the residential section of the site. EPA had tried, the goal was to finish sampling and cleanup by 2023. And so in honor of that goal, we are trying to finish all of sampling and cleanup next year in 2022. So we are looking at the number of properties that we have left that have not signed up for sampling or cleanup, and we're really ramping up notifications to those community members, using some stronger messages to try to let folks know the consequences if they do not choose to sign up for sampling and cleanup, and make sure that they have received those messages and they understand what impact this could have on them, their families, and the community. We do anticipate having a final last call date next year, a firm date to give to folks, because at this point we don't have that firm cutoff date of when people will last be able to sign up for sampling or cleanup. But as soon as we have a date, we will share that with folks. We'll be notifying the media and the city council. And currently our efforts to notify folks include using social media and quarterly email outreach updates. We did those door-to-door efforts and expect to continue that. You mentioned the city cable channel, and we have a notification on there, and Mayor Gradisar recorded a public service announcement, which I believe is running on the cable channel as well as was shared on social media by us and our partners. In the future, we are expecting to reach out to the media to do op-eds for those local media outlets. We're hoping to have formal letters that go to each property because sometimes homeowners change and folks may not know about the Superfund site, or we may not have contact information for them. And then we are expecting to also have press releases, continue the social media, email, and website updates. So this is just kind of a summary of what we are planning as we look into next year and how we're hoping to communicate with some of these folks that have not yet signed up for sampling and cleanup. We had a really good conversation with our community advisory group last week, and they had some good ideas about how we can talk to some of these folks that either may not have heard about it or may have heard about it but are still reluctant to sign up. And so we had a good brainstorming session there, and are excited to move forward with some of those ideas. And I'm going to move to the next slide, Sabrina.
Great, thank you. So with that study area expansion, we now are looking at 1,825 properties. Previously, it was 1,717 properties in the operable Unit 1 study area. And so we have made, as folks have said, a lot of good progress over these months. And as of end of October, early November, we are about 90% complete with our soil sampling and about 60% complete with the dust sampling. And one of the things that has changed over the last few months is where we used to be seeing about 47% or 49% of the properties looking like they needed a cleanup. That has dropped down to about 47% of the properties needing a cleanup. And I think that's because as we move farther out from the smelter stack area, more properties don't need a cleanup. So that percentage needing a cleanup is falling somewhat. And then on the cleanup progress, about 80% of our soil cleanups are done and about 44% of the dust cleanups are complete. And just wanted to remind folks that we're behind on dust sampling and dust cleanup because of the year delay with COVID and not being able to go into homes until we had our COVID protocols in place. But those protocols have been going really, really well. And so we're back in and doing sampling and indoor cleanups where those are needed. Slide 7, talking about current activities on former smelter area, operable unit 2. I think folks have gotten to know Christina Baum, our OU2 RPM, a little bit, but I'm continuing to give the update here. And in the recent few months, we've done some shallow surface water and groundwater screening. We recently had some field crews go back and pick up some probes out of operable unit 2. And they'll be looking at the data for the next few months. And we're hoping that that's going to help us determine the best way to sample the groundwater. And this is kind of a typical way that we try to look at the best way to sample the property, look at or any properties or the larger study area, collect a few samples that try to give us an idea of what might be going on that could affect human health, that could affect ecological health, and then look at the best way to potentially sample the all of those different media. So we're hoping that we can have some more information to share with you in another update in early 2022. Slide 8. The OU2 former smelter area timeline shows that we've got some in-house support for our screening level ecological risk assessment, that acronym SLERA, and our preliminary conceptual site model, updating that, and then doing this preliminary groundwater and surface water screening. And then into 2024 through 2026, some more slag sampling and taking the human health risk assessment, HHRA, and baseline ecological risk assessment, feeding data that we gather from some of the 2021 through 2023 sampling into those efforts, and do some deeper subsurface soil sampling. We're estimating down to 20 to 25 feet that we'd like to sample the subsurface soils. And then later on, get into groundwater sampling for up to 2 years. And then that would move us into the operable unit to proposed plan and record of decision. Now, all of this is timeline guesses based on funding that we have planned into the future, but we have to look at that every single year as we're talking about what funds are coming in our congressional allocations and how we need to prioritize some of those things. So it's possible that some work could get pushed up depending on the funding that we might get. And that, again, the reason that the OU2 work was delayed was because of the focus on human health in the residential areas. Slide 9. A part of, I guess, our typical due diligence is also around enforcement activities. And this is in part for operable unit 2, that former smelter area. So looking at potential liability, past owners and activities, and just it's a typical part of the process that we have to work through. Sometimes it helps us to identify funds that help offset the funds that we would spend to do characterization and cleanup. And so that can be beneficial. Another big part of what we've been working on for a couple of years now are institutional controls. Doug with the state of Colorado is going to join us to talk in a little more detail about that. Doug?
There we go, had to unmute. Thanks, Sabrina. Good evening, council members. Just as a refresher, institutional controls are commonly part of Superfund cleanup plans to manage long-term exposures and risk potential whenever waste is left in place or whenever cleanup isn't complete enough to say that there's no remaining risk. And the typical example would be a landfill that has a cover placed on it, yet the waste is under that cover. There would have to be some sort of institutional control to prevent someone from digging up that waste material and causing a new exposure. The For the last, I would say 2 years, we have had regular, if even frequent meetings with Rob Marsh, the city's outside counsel, and more recently Scott Hobson has participated to discuss a local ordinance that would require a few properties that are either not allowing sampling or cleanup by the time we complete the OU1 work, or properties where there was contamination remaining at depth, below the maximum cleanup depth that EPA is excavating to as part of yard cleanups. And that will place a few conditions on those property owners when they come in for a building permit. So we've made really great progress on those discussions. We are at the point where there is a draft ordinance that was ready to share with the community. We have done that, and we are currently scheduled to meet with the community on November 29th to hear the community's concerns and their ideas, and then take that feedback and hopefully schedule another meeting with city personnel and Rob Marsh to see if there are any changes that need to be made to the draft ordinance or other issues that need to be addressed that we didn't consider during our last couple of years of discussions. So that's the very quick and easy update on institutional controls.
Great, thanks, Doug. Slide 10 is just a recap of all the Colorado Smelter key contacts with a couple new faces there, at least one with Sarah Graves on the state side. And do folks have any questions for us?
Thank you. Questions, comments, Councilor Brown?
Well, again, I think I've said this before. I just want to thank all the people in the community up there who participated. I know this wasn't an easy thing to start. There was a lot of resistance to start. And the EPA and the state stepped up to get this cleanup going. And it's unfortunate that there's still a few properties that haven't committed to it. So again, thank you, Sabrina, and everybody who's been involved in this.
Thank you very much. It takes all of us, and if you all have any ideas for us on different ways to reach out to your community, we're all ears.
Councilor McCauley-Bachicha.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. So I know that your door-to-door method has been effective. So I think you should continue that. There was a lot of misconceptions that I'm hearing from neighbors, because that's my community, that they feared if they got this done, they weren't going to be able to sell their home in the future, which is the total opposite. And so I think being able to have those one-on-one conversations is truly important. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other questions, comments? Councilor Winter, do you have anything? No? The only question I had was on the expansion. Can you explain that expansion again, how that came about and under what authority?
Sure. So it's a normal part of work that we do under our Superfund authority. And as part of the remedial investigation and feasibility study process, primarily that first step, the sampling, that is over the overarching site characterization, where we need to be able to identify how did smelter waste get from its stacks out into the community. And one of the ways that we have seen it affecting community is track in from soils. We see a lot of yards that have bare soils on them, and they may have contaminated soil, and then it gets tracked into the homes. And so where we've got elevated levels of metals in soil, and we saw that on that former boundary, it's not possible for us to say that that's the end of Colorado smelter area impact. Now, we recognize that we don't want to continue enlarging that until it covers an area that doesn't make sense for the Colorado smelter stacks where they were located down at Santa Fe and Mesa Avenue area to have affected things. So we're looking at what's the reasonable area that aerial deposition might have dropped out contamination and affected that area. And this expansion here was a reasonable expansion.
If you look at the map, it looked like the expansion was Runyon Lake and the Runyon baseball fields. Is that correct?
Well, the Runyon fields, the county gave us access to sample the Runyon fields, and we took care of that sampling several years ago. And the Runyon Lake themselves, they had not been part of that. And I don't know, Christina Baum and some of our technical support folks are still talking about, what would be the best way to characterize around that Runyon Lake area. But yes, that does include that Runyon Lake area, as well as we can see several little bump outs that include some of the other areas.
Thank you.
Mostly residential, however.
Councilor Flores.
Yes, I think this question is for Mr. Miller. On the slide that you showed, you had a section there saying working through liability issues, standard part of Superfund process to evaluate potential liability. Could you put some context in that? I'm confused as to from what angle you're looking at this, and give us, maybe you can give us some examples of what you mean by that.
Sure. So something that often happens is a company might have gone bankrupt a long time ago, and there might be insurance available. And in looking at those old insurance policies, there might be funds that would become available in looking at the historic status of that property and any past owners and any insurance that they may have held. And so that is something that we're able to look at to offset the congressional funds that would normally go to a site. So it's just a port, typically on facilities, not on residential properties, but where you've got a facility that had more of the I guess the day-to-day operations, in this case, the former smelter footprint, and where that Asarco smelter had been, looking at what has gone on in those properties over the course of time to see if there's anything there to be looked at that could help offset our response costs.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Thank you for your report. We appreciate all you're doing.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
We'll go on to the Nature and Wildlife Discovery Center update. Ms. Kester.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. We do have a presentation that we submitted. There we go. And I'd like to introduce Teresa Valenti, who is our board president to my right, and several of our staff members are in the back row there. Now, can I control this? Okay. The merger of Mountain Park Environmental Center and the Nature and Raptor Center of Pueblo, forming Nature and Wildlife Discovery Center, after 3 years, has expanded outdoor education opportunities for the people of Pueblo, especially students, by providing comparative studies of foothills, shortgrass prairie, and riparian habitats. People of all ages receive unparalleled face-to-face experience with birds of prey. They learn through personal sensory experiences why turkey vultures have bald heads and why hawks, owls, and falcons have different body and wing shapes to help them fulfill the unique niche of each species, and why each is important to the ecosystem on which humans depend. Each of the 2 natural parks owned by the city of Pueblo and operated by Nature and Wildlife Discovery Center provides an exquisite opportunity for people of all ages, races, genders, ethnic groups, and socioeconomic situations to experience nature in a wild setting in close proximity to town. Nature and Wildlife Discovery Center values our relationship with the city of Pueblo in our partnership to preserve and protect nature in these Pueblo gems so the public can enjoy them. The quality nature education and outdoor recreation opportunities that we provide promote environmental stewardship as well as health and well-being for the people of our community. Our focus is centered on providing quality outdoor experiences that serve the best interests of the Pueblo community. Oops. Earthkeeper Nature School provides early childhood education in an outdoor setting for children ages 4 and 5. Earth Studies, a program that's been with us for a long time, provides experiential science education for every school district 65th grade class. Grow Wild Forest Club is new, started during the pandemic so that we could get small groups of kids outside and still engaged. It provides families with a multidisciplinary outdoor education, full-day opportunity for their kindergarten through 5th grade children on Fridays when schools are not in session throughout the school year. Outdoor Leadership or Steward program is a collaborative full-day weekly outdoor curriculum for homeschool students registered through Pueblo School for Arts and Sciences. The curriculum combines outdoor skills, nature education, and leadership skills. Students participate throughout the school year. Nehi Nature Hour provides toddlers and their parents outdoor discovery experiences monthly. The Raptor Center engages thousands of people annually with ambassador raptors that could not be returned to their natural habitats due to permanent disabilities. During stay-at-home orders, we provided programs virtually, and it also provides treatment and rehabilitation for 200 to 300 birds annually. Nature and Wildlife Discovery Center provides a variety of events and activities annually for the general public. Although the pandemic put a serious damper on large events, we adapted with small group and virtual presentations. Ashley Nessman, our program director, and Diana Miller, our Raptor Center director, are here in the audience. If you have questions for them when we are through, I'm sure they will be happy to address them. Retreats, weddings, reunions, even memorial services have been severely impacted since the beginning of the pandemic. Recovery has been sporadic due to the rise and fall of cases as COVID-19 has impacted families, religious institutions, and workplaces. Jasmine Shepard, Sales and Marketing Coordinator, and Lori Youngren, Guest Services Manager, are here if you have questions for them when we are through. Management of Pueblo Mountain Park has continued to include the Healthy Forest Project involving removal of dead, drought-stressed, and beetle-damaged trees, as well as ladder fuels to help prevent wildfire. Prescribed burn plans conducted by the Ember Alliance, the Nature Conservancy, the Beulah Fire Department, and the City of Pueblo Fire Department are in progress. Road maintenance continues to improve. Although road base would help, access and delivery are currently cost prohibitive for everyone involved. With the use of a tractor and blade, Nature and Wildlife Discovery Center's maintenance team is keeping them quite passable with 3 years of work to improve crowning and drainage. This aging, dangerous propane tank from 1949 was replaced in August. Renovation of picnic tables is currently in process and will be implemented at both campuses over the next couple of years. Definite difference there. Despite weather and vandalism challenges, the Pueblo campus continues to improve. The riverfront building outside. Whoops. And inside. The deck is being treated and repaired annually as needed. Trails and grounds continue to improve. Tony Pemberton, our maintenance director, is here if you have questions for him. Does a phenomenal job. I'd like to address the letter that was sent to the mayor that you all received. And if you have further questions, we will address your questions to the best of our ability. The merger has expanded opportunities, unifying the two organizations. The focus is on the best interest of the Pueblo community, not specifically on one location or the other. We are caring responsibly for both Pueblo community-owned sites. We are reaching out to our membership and to the community. We send email blasts that reach 4,000 people, and they're sent out at least monthly. 42 of them have been sent out in the last 19 months, which is really since the beginning of the pandemic. The Facebook post with a reach of 331,283. Now that is, obviously that's a duplicated number, but if I watch 5 Facebook videos, I'm going to be recorded 5 times. If I watch one Facebook video 5 times, I'm going to be recorded once. And these are directly from our Facebook data that we receive. During this time period, we have had over 25,000 engaged users participating in what we're doing with Facebook. Pueblo Chieftain, and actually it's now 83 since we were rescheduled for a week later, has published now 83 of the columns that we have written, so that throughout the pandemic, we were able to provide ideas of things to do outside, interesting facts about nature, things that we're offering in the park. All of you received a packet of information that was largely comments from the staff and their experience in working here during this time when people are leaving jobs in droves. And we have undergone a variety of challenges over this time. We have 91% retention rate of our full-time regular staff during that time frame. We have a lot of part-time seasonal people that come and go, that will work through the summer or will work through the school year and not the rest of the year. Even 57% of those have been retained. We've operated in the black pretty consistently since our very, very challenging year in 2018. The databases that the letter claimed had not been, merged were merged in 2018. Jasmine Shepard did that. She is here with us if you have questions about that. And regarding the strategic plan, the Board of Directors met in November of 2019 to formulate a strategic plan. And we made an adjustment to a one-word adjustment to the mission and established 7 operating goals. You have copies of those and copies of the board minutes when those were approved. You might note that happened in February of 2020, and we all know where we were in March of 2020. So at that point, planning became very challenging for us, as did gathering people in groups. We were very proactive during that time period. We did a lot of virtual programming. People that spend time outside and avoid computer screens all learned how to provide program virtually in a hurry. So it was a great learning experience for all of our staff. And we were as proactive as possible to the situation, did everything we could to continue to provide outdoor experiences in Pueblo. I want to thank you for your partnership, for the support you've given us. We are not an organization in decline. We have a lot of work to do. We know we have a lot of work to do. We have progressed steadily forward, and we will continue to progress steadily forward. If you have questions, we'd be happy to.
Thank you. Is it Ms. Valente?
Yes,
Do you have anything you want to add?
just to echo everything that Patty said here.
Thank you. I would just echo everything that Ms. Kester said. I would add that as the board president since the merger, or shortly after the merger, I apologize, there was some other things going on at that time. I've seen nothing but progress. I have continued to be engaged with the organization because of the respect that I have for Ms. Kester and the staff that she leads. I can't think of another person that could have led the staff through the past 3 years, given all the challenges that we've had.
Yeah, I'll be the first to say that I've been on council through this whole process if I was a betting man, I'd have said there's no way that you guys were going to make it. And what a turnaround, and what a testament to your leadership and to your staff. The things that you guys are doing out there is just fantastic, because you guys were on life support. And
yes, we were.
And what a remarkable recovery, and something we should be very proud of, not only you guys, but the whole community, for sticking with that whole organization and moving forward. So, hats off to you guys. That's a heck of a story. Councilor Flores.
Ms. Kessler, that was a great presentation, and thank you for making your presentation today. I don't know what letter the mayor got, but we did get an email today, all of us here on City Council, and it really had to do with transparency more than anything else. They felt that your website, should have your minutes, should have access to. I'm reading this, a list of your board members, how you contact the board, your annual budget, your conflict of interest policy, board minutes, a current board approved strategic plan, which you did address. You're currently on that, and copies of the NWDC organizational chart. So that question you didn't address, is that a potential problem, or it just seems like the normal kind of stuff that we have to do as a city because we're dealing with taxpayer dollars? But I'm just curious, is that an issue that you can do, and or are you providing that now? Because I haven't seen your website probably in about 6 months.
Our website has been under constant construction, and some of that we certainly can do. Anybody who wants to see a copy of our board minutes can certainly request to see that, and we can provide that. Do you have anything, Teresa, you'd like to add to that? we provide to all of our donors and membership at year end information about our finances. We're audited annually. Our board gets regular profit and loss balance sheet comparison of budget to actual at every board meeting. So that information certainly is available.
And maybe you can explain the email that all of us receive indicate that they are friends of the Nature Center. But I'm curious because I don't see the friendly relationship here. If they're feeling that there's things that are lacking, we should clarify them, because what they're asking for seems very minimal. It's the normal kind of stuff that every nonprofit has to do.
What's occurred here? I'm just going to tell you what's occurred, and I'll try to keep it as minimal as I can. In the years 2013 until the merger, the founder and former director retired in 2013. During the years 2013 to 2018, that individual was kept on as a paid consultant of the organization, and that continued following the merger and after I was hired. The situation is that that person is a subordinate of the director and also told to advise the director, which has been a very, very delicate and difficult balance to try to walk for multiple people. The result of that is between those years of 2013 and 2018, there were 5 different directors in the Mountain Park Environmental Center. I navigated that quite well until I was pushed to give preferential treatment to an individual staff member, which I would not do. I didn't think it was ethical, and I wouldn't take that step. And ultimately, the individual resigned over the situation. Following that situation, a letter went to the board of directors, then a letter went to the mayor with copies to Stephen Meyer and to the city council. Following that, this Friends of the Mountain Park came about. We met with some of the people from that group last week with the staff, and their intent was not that this group formed without ever coming and talking to us, and the steps being taken did not sound friendly to us. Some of the people that are involved are people in leadership positions in Beulah. We met with them, and we are working closely with them to overcome that situation, and we'll make available to them whatever information they need from us.
Thank you. It appears that there's an opportunity here, really not. I don't think this is a negative. I mean, you've got a lot of people that want to do good things here, and maybe I could suggest that that you get together, because I think all of you want to make the place better, and you've brought it a long way, and I laud you for that. But I think there's an opportunity here, to bring you together. According to this email, they have 160 members. I don't know if that number is correct or not, but that's a lot of resources that you guys could access if you can come together in some way. And I think I'd be happy to pursue some intermediary that maybe could solve this, because I think we all should be going in the same direction. I think there's an opportunity here, and just a suggestion. So I appreciate it.
Counselor Schilling.
Ms. Kester, Patty, if I may call you, you've done a great job, and that's because you come from great stock. So part of the complaint I read, money would solve all some of those problems. But I'm going to jump on what Dennis said, and you gave us a real roundabout kind of thing. He asked a real simple question. He listed 5 or 6 things that they would like to see you provide on the internet. And that's, to me, that's not a consideration. Well, geez, how do we do this? To me, what I was looking for was yes.
Yes,
you can do this. I mean, why? The more simple, open, and honest you keep all this, these letters are a waste of your time.
Okay.
Yes.
And if you can do small, dumb, simple things to cure that problem and avoid these letters, I'd be all over that in the New York Minute or whatever the saying is. So please do that. I mean, I'm going to be gone in a couple of months. You can tell me goodbye and thanks for your thought. But Dennis is actually right. This is just keep it simple. It's a waste of your time to deal with this. These letters, complete waste of your time, emotional time, time here, everything else. It's a big waste of time. The programs we do with District 60, I knew they were really had short arms as far as funding. Is that any better for you all?
It's improved somewhat, and we had a little bit of grant dollars that carried over from previous year when we suddenly could no longer provide it because the kids weren't in school. So they're paying for a session, we're paying for a session, and we're offering classes the opportunity to do a third session that they raise the money for. So
Okay, are they providing transportation?
yes, they are.
Okay, so they're doing that. They're doing part of their share. Now, I said this before, and I'm going to say it again, and again, I'm gone. I don't think you guys belong in the motel business. I think you need to sub that thing out to somebody that runs a hotel, that markets their hotel 12 months a year, could market this. I don't know how strong your marketing program is during the off months. I can't imagine it being very strong. You certainly don't have a permanent position, a person like that. One of these hotel operators in my mind, and I've never run a motel, okay, but I can either try and do something part-time or I can hand it to somebody that does it all the time. And to me, it takes a lot of the brain damage away from you guys, knowing somebody is there, knowing the staff's there. You're not chasing maids, you're not chasing wood for the fireplace and that sort of thing. But you turn that whole operation off, you take a percentage, it may not be as much money, but you're going to take 1,000 times less of brain damage and the time required to deal with that thing. So my thought is sub that place out, make some money, and get rid of the brain damage and the time and management fees it takes you to do that. And other than that, please keep the place alive because I like it, my kids like it, my grandkids like it. Thanks for all you do. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any, I disagree with Counselor Schilling. I think that Horseshoe Lodge is something that you guys are going to just thrive with, especially now that COVID's going to be coming to an end at some point, and people are going to be wanting to get out. So that Horseshoe Lodge is a diamond in the rough that needs to be. I mean, we say it every time we talk about this, but I think you guys can handle it, and I think you have the people available that can make it happen. So hopefully that works out. Counselor Winter, do you have anything?
Let's see here. I was just going to thank you for all your hard work. And, I think that the city should sell that hotel. I've been saying that for years, probably for the same reason that Bob just mentioned, to have it be successful. That's all I have. Thanks.
All right. Thank you
you.
very much for your report. We'll move on to the Pueblo Veterans Ritual Team. Mr. Torres.
Good evening, City Council and members of the public and whoever can hear us. My name is Sal Torres. I'm the Vice Commander of the Virtual Team. I'll show respect and I'll let Mr. Saints talk first. Mr. Saints, the Commander of the Virtual Team.
Thank you for, this pleasure of being here tonight. Just want to go over some areas that Sal has been working on and clarify anything that or answer any questions you all might have.
I just want to say that I did receive some emails and I just want to ask, do you guys have a packet with the letter and the emails I talked to the mayor? And I just want to tell you right now, keep it simple. First, I want to thank Miss McCauley because her family, we do probably about 40, 50 with her relatives for the virtual team. Their exception to the rule that they pay about 175, John, right? We've buried her relative, Mr. McCauley. We also do historical data. I'll give you an example. Mr. Flores, you stated that some good points about fingers, but we do more than that. And we work in concert with people called all the time about the history of their relative. Just like the Steelworks does for the workers, Mir Gradishar, there, his father, Anthony Gradishar, and his great-grandpa, Anthony Gradishar, they have draft cards. We keep historical data just like the Steelworks. So when you come to us, we take the data we get from there and we extend on that because the family wants to know about their relative, about those ribbons. Now, in saying that, you're not aware of this maybe, but there are historical places at the Pioneer Cemetery that we go every year that sits there that those veterans that fought for Pueblo are laying there with dirty graves. So there's one medal of honor buried at Roselawn. We have participated with Roselawn, other organizations, and just for those who don't know, you only see us at the fingers. We do 350 events. It cost when in the old days, Mr. Flores, it was $100. We didn't even have a nonprofit, you know. It grew to where the old timers from World War II vets. And that started because the government, and Ms. McCauley could probably tell you as well, doesn't do the full military honors with the weapons. They're lucky to have the funeral homes and us to present that. Her relatives, a couple of funeral homes give us the money, but a lot of people don't give us the money. In addition to that, we have helped pass legislation at the national and the state level. We have been recognized by numerous organizations, Patriotic Citizens of the Year, and we don't want the awards. We want to do the education, the resources. Now, we're not going to say anything bad about Mark Collin because we think they deserve the 75. We agree with the mayor on that. But they've been around since 2016. We've been around just as well, and we work well. But why should we take away from Mark Carmel at 75,000? We project another 50 more people will be added to that. Here's what we've done with COVID, gentlemen. And it's very tough because we had to adapt. There's been no closure when people die. It's sad. So we're going in front of the houses right now. The chief of police will tell you, we have to get a special permit. We have to follow, we have to have insurance. We have to do all things by the book. What we do, we bought a book because you asked for receipts. We call it the Book of the Dead. I'm sorry to mention it like that. Because we give stipends for the money we get from her or everything, and everybody signs it, and it goes in the National Archives, it goes into our record. So these are things that we support. Now, when we had a veteran center, and I'll leave it to Mr. Retencio, in 2016 and 17, Mr. Flores, we had one right across the street. You want to know why it didn't exist? Because we don't have the funding. Now, even if you don't want to say that we're the resource center, here's how it really works. The VA has the money and the budget. The city should be paying for that, for the health issues and all that. What Mark Carmel does is great. It's a supplemental to that, which they don't get from the VA. We're not taking anything. In fact, they probably need $100,000. That's what they're trying to say. So, but there's no such thing as one stop. The Colorado Veterans Association offers jobs like the VA. Here's what's happening. All the nonprofits, we've been doing this for years. We are leadership and partnership with them. When we had that center there, we had Posada. We put a bus stop at the VA. We go to all of the nursing homes. We had a very good organization. We just didn't have the funding. And we didn't think that we were the only nonprofit that should get any money. We thought it was just important as the other organizations get the money. But we're projected at 400 events. Now, you see this fire department, the police department, they'll tell you, we go to every event, we work with the honor guard units. Problem in Pueblo is the educational. Problem in Pueblo is we don't offer the resources. I'll give you a good example. I could just recollect Charles McCauley, William McCauley. They both served in the Army. The mayor, father was Anthony F. Gradishar. We have records on him. We have his draft card. We do things that are vital to keep those veterans honor things. So it kind of upset me though, when they said, well, you only see us for the fringes, but we do a lot more. And there is going to be a crossover in the services. The mayor is doing his due diligence. You're doing your due diligence, Mr. Flores. But if you want to look at the book, we bought the Book of the Dead, because here's how it does. When we bury somebody, calling like crazy. We actually cash out, we give them checks because it costs for the uniforms. It costs a lot of money. We had 3 vans. And sometimes we have to split the team. Now, you weren't aware of this, but you know the Pikes Peak National Cemetery? You know who helped put that there? The Ritual team. You want to know who the fiscal agent for the Pikes Peak National Cemetery is for the committee? The Ritual team. We go to Fort Lyons, Fort Logan's, but we also deal with legislation because the veterans don't get enough. When the veteran dies, here's how it works. The funeral directors have a lot of input on it. They do it pretty professionally. But what's happening is that I lost my train of thought, but the Ritual team doesn't just do funerals. I think it was the 4th of July, Mr. Saints. We were there. We represent part of the Veterans Village. So we educate the public, the schools, we give awards, pictures, because the family needs that. It costs us just 35, 40, 50 bucks, make a picture, put it in the living room. They can look at grandpa, what grandpa did. Because we have to educate these younger people. And we can't forget about, and we forgot about it, we can't forget about the Pueblans that died even in the Civil War. They're sitting in the primary cemetery. So we've been on top of this. Now, there's only one Medal of Honor person buried here. And we cleaned that grave, okay? When there was the World War II research, we helped Roseland identify those through our resources. There's no organization, no one does this, that does the historical data, just like the Steelwork does. We're just as important. And we're open to suggestions, okay? But we're pretty busy right now. I brought him out from hunting to come over here so he can ask him some questions too. Thank you.
In existence over 35 years. These books started in, when I got out of active duty in 06, I started these books, and every year I've been keeping books. And this is the last one of 2021 right here, the white one. But it not only lists the veterans that we buried, or we did the ceremony for the veterans, it also lists ceremonies that we do otherwise, whether they're sporting events, whether they're at CSU, Pueblo South. We were asked to go and post the colors and do the military things that we do. We just completed an education class at Walsenburg Elementary School. And that was to honor the flag, give the history of the flag, proper display of the flag, and then finally we folded the flag when we bury a veteran. Dog show, we went to the dogs. We posted color at the Southern Colorado Dog Show, and that's the first time we ever did that. A member of TRIA asked to do that for us. We did it. State government, we were asked by Speaker Garcia to have a Veterans Day ceremony in the state capitol where we had the bugles. Of course, we didn't have the rifles, but we posted colors at that ceremony. That was about 5 or 6 years ago. We are DOD certified, like Sal says. Not very many ritual teams in this country are DOD certified. In other words, we are like active duty. Some of the guys have gained weight, but when we have Fort Carson guys, I always say, look at those guys and look at us. Okay, that was us 25 years ago. We support the Center for American Values, and when they had their reunion, we were there. When they were in church, when they were at the Memorial Hall, wherever they were, we were escorting them. We also gave the firing and the bugle play. World War II veterans are special to us. Those are the people that saved this country. And I always mention that in the ceremonies that we do for World War II vets. Because if it wasn't for them, men and women, this country would be different. We provide uniforms for families that want to have their deceased member buried. I just got a call the other day from Angelo or one of the funeral homes. They needed a Navy uniform, and I happened to have a Navy uniform. Gave it to the funeral home. The man wanted to be buried in his Navy uniform. We support the Sangre de Cristo if they need a uniform. And we were there for a ceremony there, raising the flag, posting the flag. We've been at the state fair rodeo. There was two of us that went out, and the people in the stands honored us there. They asked to come back. Like Speak National Cemetery, me and Sal were on this committee to get the National Cemetery here. Of course, we had 13 different sites that were identified. Of course, the Veterans Affairs, they had their own ideas, but we helped them along. And we were also there for the opening ceremony at the National Cemetery. The Medal of Honor ceremony at Roselawn Cemetery. We do that annually, where we support the cemetery in talking about the different people in the services, and also that the one Civil War Medal of Honor winner that's been identified. Now Sal is the one that identified that. We have done ceremonies at the Pueblo Army Depot, ceremonies at the airport museum, supporting that, veterans at Air Force veterans. We support the VFW, the Air Force Association, the Marine League, GI Forum, the Latino Chamber of Commerce, the Pueblo Chamber of Commerce. We already talked about the reunion for the medical honors. We support, in summary, we support all veteran organizations and anybody that needs our support. Remember, we, Pueblo, home of the heroes.
Before we leave, we would like to have these two gentlemen, because they're going to twist our arm and beat us up. They're a little bigger than us. Keep it short.
What do I have to do? Okay. Good evening, council members. My name is Bob McClelland. I'm a Chief Hospital Corpsman, Fleet Marines, U.S. Navy retired. I'm here to testify on behalf of the Pueblo Ritual Team and the work that they do in the community. You cannot put a price on the last minute details that the Ritual Team does. The only time you see them is when it's too late. The public does not know, but only takes for granted that the efforts of the Ritual Team performs military honors, education, and training. The Ritual Team has consistently demonstrated services to our veterans community. I'm a member of the Retired Enlisted Association, a 501c nonprofit, and have partnered with the Ritual Team over the past years. I participated with them in 2017 and 18 at the Resource Center. I was instrumental in the development and the design of the Drew Dix Park. I testify before you tonight that the Ritual Team needs your support and is a worthwhile organization. To compromise the support of this service would be devastating to our veterans community. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. First of all, I want to thank you for all you do. My name is John Lester Vasquez. I am the National Commander for the Legacy of Valor, here to testify on behalf of the Ritual Team. The Ritual Team, just like Legacy of Valor and the Enlisted Association, the VFW, American Legion, they are 501c3s. The big difference is, I want you to think about this, they don't have a bar. They're not a drinking organization. I'm a member of almost every organization out there. And I will tell you that the Ritual Team is a working organization. They work for the people, especially at Pueblo. You know, we've partnered up with them to do education. The Legacy of Valor, we specialize in giving scholarships. We've never received a penny, and nor am I asking for it. After hearing Mr. Flores speak, I think I might be inclined to get my website in tight order and come back another day. But outside of that, I do want to say that, you know, there's been many times that Sal says, hey, John, is there any way, you know, you guys can spare some cash so we could buy this deceased veteran a uniform their family member wants to full military honors? And well, let's be honest, some of our military members, they're not exactly in tip top shape back when they were 17, 18 years old. Now they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, etc. And I don't know the last time you've been all the clothing and sales, but uniforms are not cheap, nor are the ribbons that go on to them and all their awards that they earn while they selflessly serve this country. You know, one of the things that they really didn't touch on a whole lot, but I want to tell you is Legacy of Valor, we work in conjunction with them, and we are a DOD certified casualty assistance officers. Anytime if you get an active duty member that has paid the ultimate sacrifice, the military, the active duty military, will actually provide a casualty assistance to the next of kin. And that's it. No one else gets it. The next of kin only. Well, you tell that to the child from a divorce relationship. There's no console for them. So many times the Ritual Team says, John, what can you guys do? We go out there and to help out the Ritual Team to provide that casualty assistance and that condolence to the next of kin. A lot of times it's usually a child from a previous marriage. As we all know, military members, you know, quite a little wild sometimes when they first come in and they're experimenting, and they're very young, and rightly so. I was one of them at one time. With that, I would just ask that you greatly consider supporting the Ritual Team. And I once again thank you for all that you do as council members and serving our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that everybody? Do we have any questions, comments? Councilor Flores?
I really appreciate your presentation tonight. You know, one of the things that I think that confuses people is they think you're a Ritual Team, and what you've taught us tonight and what you've explained tonight is that you're much more than that. But your name is deceptive, and it's, you know, it doesn't really tell the whole story. And I don't recollect, you gave me a lot of credit for a lot of stuff, but I did read all the information that you received from the mayor. And I think this is the first time that we've heard an in-depth report of everything that you do, the comprehensiveness of it. And I don't think anybody on the city council had made a decision at all about which way we were going to go on this. We were just waiting for the information, waiting for the data, so that, because the ultimate decision rests with us. And but I'm amazed at how much you're able to do. The one thing that was confusing, though, if you look at the it looks like a pro forma balance sheet of well, a profit and loss situation. And let me bring it up here. I think I got the wrong thing. I've got my iPad right here. Your operating budget, first of all, runs from January 1 to November 10th, which was unusual, but your expenses are almost $140,000, yet you're indicating your revenue is $33,500. So I'm curious as to how, you know, you are able to make up the difference.
I'll tell you
or how
exactly.
you've been able to make up.
First of all, I'm going to tell you the truth. That family there, out of the 40, they pay 175. Sometimes they pay more. They've always taken care of us.
That's per
for years. They buried one of our members, and Mr. McCauley has done it for free. We've done things for free that we don't even list in here. But this, not her, but her relatives, I want to put her on the spot. went for them, the ritual team wouldn't even be here probably in the beginning. Second of all, they're not the only funeral home. We have to deal with the West Coast. We have to give advice to Trinidad. We try to train other people with leadership nationwide people. You want to know the truth? You know where all my VA, I'm a disabled vet, Marine combat vet. I give about 45, 50,000. John gives another 40,000. Mr. Schilling there, what he told you was the truth. We don't put ourselves first. We're no better than any other prophet. All of us have a leadership role and should work together. We're still learning, gentlemen. This is a scarce duty. Every time I fire that rifle, and anybody that goes to a funeral, it's not the same. We move when that rifle shot. We learn from the fight. We're so privileged that they let us bury them. You want to know something else? You don't ask a family, and McCauley's will tell you, you don't ask a family for money in the day of the funeral. Them and the other funeral homes pay, but it's not just the funerals. If you want us to continue doing our duty and historical data, that's something that's never been done nationwide. You could call us anytime. We don't charge it. We could tell you this is what your grandpa did. I'll tell you right now. They're on Mr. Mayor Gratishar, his great grandpa, ground card World War I, ground card World War II. We could tell you the whole history. When the colleagues get a lot of funeral homes when they're deceased, get the DD-14. They handle most of all the work. They get the flag, all that. They do a lot. So we work in concert. And we're lucky to have good people, local businesses, not promoting commercial, local businesses, local nonprofits. Now, Mark Carmel is a great organization. Doug Fitzgerald's running the one down here. And I called him after the mayor says, but there's no such thing as a one-stop, gentlemen. We're supplemental. The difference is every Puebloan gets a full burial military honors. The funeral home that participate with know exactly, and we work in concert as a team. It's not always about us. You should thank other people that are involved in this process as well. Thank you, Mr. Flores.
Yep, I think you convinced me that you guys are doing an amazing job. I don't think that's even the issue.
I'd just like to mention that one of the things about Pueblo Veterans Ritual Team is that the members, we go from 90, Al Duran is 92 years old and the youngest is 65, whatever that is. That's him. But anyway, we all worked at the steel mill. We all worked at the pad, Pueblo Army Depot. So it's more of a, we get with the family because we know that family that the deceased has happened. So it's more of a, the Army guys will come, they'll fire, they'll fold the flag, and then they go. But we have a different relationships with people in Walsenburg and Trinidad and in Pueblo, Avondale, that we know those people. And we try to comfort those people and help them in any way they can. I just want to mention that. The next thing we're looking at is post colors at a Bronco game.
I just want to share with you, Dennis, that we did go to the county commissioners. We went to both, and we didn't want to put ourselves in front of another nonprofits. But we did ask the county, we're going to ask for 30 to try to supplement that. I'll be honest, we almost disbanded. I'm not going to lie. Because we get most of the money from the funeral home, like she knows, but it's not enough. In the old days, $100, and actually, a lot of people understand that, and we're lucky we have the funeral homes to give us guidance on that part, but it's not always about funerals. We are actually taking the lead where they will come to us. Will you bury me, please? And it's happened many times. We suggest if you have a loved one that, and the funeral homes will suggest too, that fill out the paperwork, get your DD-14. There's a lot of things that we can do educational to prepare your loved one or yourself. I heard you talk, Mr. Tancio. There's the things you can do now. You can call us or call your, but we bring leadership and we work very well. Let's clear something up. There was a letter that somebody said to the ritual team. I'll tell you what happened. Keep it short and simple. We write the grants for the vans that went to the VA. It was a $10,000 grant from the VA. Unfortunately, the state of Colorado is not taking care of the ritual team. Here's what happens. It goes to the state Veterans Affairs. They distribute grants to the Western Slope to some cemetery. Pueblo didn't hardly see out any of it. We're not on that committee. We have asked the governor. That's fine. So we take care of what we have to take care of. And we plan on with those vans, they got to be back by 4 o'clock, and the VA does it. We have a good working relationship with the VA. So if we get this funding, we will work with Legacy of Valor to help get some of those grants. Hours of volunteerism, you can't put a money on that, but it's like we're well organized. We're lucky to have other resources. When I said that, we would work in concert, even if we would probably offer to share with Mark Carmen. If not, we have to respect their protocols and their mission statements. But we'll figure it out. We don't have all the answers. We could only just display what we've done. Thank you.
Just one thing to clarify, Laura, the Mont Carmel submission, was that under the ARPA program, or is that just because we're talking about the budget?
It originally came in as just a request for the non-departmental. ARPA committee looked at it and it went back just to the non-departmental funding out of general fund.
Right, and this is the same way with the ritual team.
This one did not go. The ritual team did not submit through an ARPA request. It was brought to the attention of the mayor and the mayor's office by Councilwoman Winter.
Well, we'll, at this stage, I think what you're asking for is $100,000. Am I correct?
You know what? We're not going to tell your price. You guys sleep on that. We at least like a minimum of 80. If you give us $1, we don't care. You go what's in your heart. But you know what? Don't ever give us a award. I mean, it's never about us. It's about what we just talked about. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Councilor Macaulay Bachicha.
Thank you for your presentation. Absolutely right. Pueblo is very fortunate to have the Pueblo Veterans Ritual Team, as you do not get a full 21 gun salute unless you are retired with 20 years or a fallen soldier. So thank you. Mr. Torres, you said a lot of things to my surprise, and I think you gave my family probably a little bit more credit than what we deserve. But I was kind of concerned with the expenses like Dennis put out, because the way I see it is I thought it was expected for the 175 contribution. Mr. Sines, that's kind of the manner that I get from you, is that it is an expected charge. So I thought all families were paying this. I didn't know that so many families weren't. So that comes to my surprise. But what is your profit with the 175? How many families are you serving? I'm not seeing that on here.
Well, actually, when we bury them, if you notice, we go to the funeral. These books indicate the individual, the date, the time, and then we have everybody sign a striping. In the back, old days are getting 10, they're getting 20. So we actually pay them because you guys take care of us pretty fast. But that's just for the funerals that we do for you. That doesn't cover all the other things that I just expressed to him. If that helped answer it, I'm not sure, but that once, and we've done things for free, not with you guys, because you're subject to the rule, and I'm not trying to promote you or anything like that. But your ancestors understood that. A lot of people don't. We've actually given checks back. Actually, some of them that you call, they'll call us about, we want the check, and you guys paid us, and they're like, we just give it back. If they need the money that bad, we're not always about the money. And there's a time, I know there was conflicts, but sometimes we almost disbanded just to let you guys know. John had to give me, if I would have died, there'd be a big problem, because honestly, Mark, you want to know who took me out of the hospital, guys? Veterans. You want to hear something? Watch. This is the nonprofits don't tell you. This is a true story. The God punished me. Watch. So I'm thinking, I sit and always audit the VA and everything. I get out, I don't go to the VA. I can't even go to the restroom. I go in there, the veterans come and get me. There's a disconnect between when they get COVID-19 again, which is going to happen. They go to the VA. Who's going to pick up those veterans before they die to address this COVID? Vans. Even with the figures, we adapted now. We're firing in front of the house now. I went to talk to Arlington. There's protocols that we're doing now that were set up, but because they have to have closure. As you know, it's very, so we have to project that income too for that, which makes it a little bit more. And we have a special permit from the city, from chief of police, but we also have a state law that allows us, the veterans, you can't just fire a weapon. Okay, we have to have liability insurance, It's not cheap, gentlemen. Doing the rounds, we do little casings that we give. Those are $15 a pop. All these costs add up. We have 3 vans that we divide the vans that we go to yours, we go to Romero's, you know, we go to Pikes Peak, Fort Lauderdale, Fort Lyons. We are the fiscal person for them. They're going to become their 501(c)(3) because we're so busy and we try to stay Pueblo, but everybody calls us. We've helped pass federal laws and state laws, you know, and we're still learning. Memberships dropped off. We can't get these young veterans, and I don't have the answers for that. But we have to educate them. We have to teach our young ones to value what the citizens did, and it affects the families. Families, civilians do honor us, and it's our responsibility to do the resources to educate them. Thank you.
So again, where is the line item for your profit?
Yeah, and I want to explain that first. We have 2 guys that come in from Colorado Springs. We have one guy that comes in from Walsenburg and one guy that comes in from Beulah. And then I have about 2 guys that come in from Pueblo West. Now I pay them a portion of the money for their gas because they're coming a long ways. And that's part of the funding that Angelus gives us. And by the end of it, it's all gone. It's all gone. That 175 is all gone.
It doesn't even cover it sometimes, but you guys have always, we're not in it for money, okay?
Yeah.
So, like I said, you guys are exception to the rule, you and Romero's. You guys are the only ones.
But we still don't have a line item.
The 350, it's a $200 cost. You have 13 people that fire the weapons. If we give them $20 a piece, add that up. That doesn't include the gas, ammunition, the clips.
And sometimes families don't have the flag.
Because we have 18 in the ritual team. Sometimes, most of the time, we haven't split up, you know. And you got to remember, it's not just one finger. We do 3 or 4 fingers a day, sometimes 5.
We'll add a line item and we'll get it back to the members of the council.
I put in the annual budget the 350. We're projecting 50 more. And you know as well, I think with yours, we looked at it, we're looking at 41 with them this year, correct, John? And those records are in right there right now, if you want to review them.
Okay, I guess the confusion is that's under expenses and not under revenue. And it wouldn't be an expense because.
As far as all the expenses for a particular
we're
funeral.
in the red, is if you're asking.
No, I'm not asking that. I was asking for the line item of your profit that you make for funerals.
We don't profit. Okay.
And maybe you don't when, you know, bottom line you don't, but you.
13 times 20 is what? That's average.
Is what you pay.
That's what we pay the guys. And then it's $10 for the little clip. We give a clip to each person with their name on it. We type it. We shine the thing. That just costs on that. So if you're talking 175, like whatever we get from a funeral home. But you got to remember that we just, depending on how many funerals we do, but that's just for one funeral. Estimated cost is $200. Time you do gas, insurance, do the payouts, strip-ins, the uniforms for cleaning.
But if you look at this, you show that as an expense. That's a $70,000 expense.
Yes.
But I think what we're trying to get at is that you collected X amount of dollars on these $170, $175 should show over here on revenue.
Yeah, on the revenue. Let me look at that, sir. Which is that on the annual or the proposed?
Am I right?
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
So you're showing the expense, but you're not showing the money that you get when the McCully Funeral Home or Angelus Chapel pays you X amount of dollars.
Right.
Well, he said just.
I know.
Well, no, you're correct. So we figured that we got about 5,000 from you from this year. We're not over with the budget. The 14,000 covers the 4,000 we got from Bob Schilling for the government. We put that in the government grants that the city gave us. Right, exactly, right. Ms. Colley.
We
on
need a lot of
government grants,
clarification here, huh?
we put that, and then we did try to include, because the year's not over, Ms. Colley, under individual contributed memberships, because it's a gift, what they give us. And then contract services, events, because we sell T-shirts and stuff like that, merchandise sales, we have the little pendants that we give. Those are not real sales items, We do have a very good website. It's puebloveterans.com. It's very well put together, and we would incorporate it, which you guys talked about, the website, to other nonprofits, Mark Carmel, the city, because people come to the website.
So the $5,000 is the total amount of revenue
From the funeral, because we don't get
all
all
the funeral homes and all the families that would pay you $175 or $200. The total you made in all of 2021 is $5,000.
We count, we could actually, we put that in the 14,000, but the 5,000 is from people that gave us actually cash, a gift, a service. We didn't get any corporates, fountains, government. We include the 14,000 with the 4,000 and yours, because they get quite a lot. Because you guys gave us about $10,000, the McCauley's, $200. Yeah. And then there was 4,000, and there were some other grants that were given to us, small monies, and that was approximately 4,000. We had invested income. We have money left over that we put in reserves for a rainy day when the van breaks down. That's it. So 5,000 is off the website. The 14,000 would include yours, and would include with the 4,000 is given from the council. Because the council did give us $4,000.
Okay.
And we made it air. It shouldn't have been under government grants.
You still going?
Okay, good call.
Please understand, I'm not trying to challenge you, but I'm just doing my due diligence, and we all need this information.
Yep.
Okay, so that line wasn't there, and I think it's really important because the bulk of what you do are funerals, and that's where a lot of your income does come from. Whether bottom line, you are in the black, but you do get income from that.
Yes.
Councilor Schilling.
Thank you. And there's 5 of us sitting up here looking at the book we're going to be in someday. Hopefully not. I share the same concerns. You have an accountant that does your bookkeeping?
Yes, Milton Trujillo, he taught at the CSU Pueblo.
Okay, so the answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay. And when you're showing, so are you telling me that you and somebody else personally are going to make up the $104,000 debt?
No, let me tell you, it was always like this. If this continues, we probably won't do what we're doing.
So you got $104,000 in debt out there, people wanting their money and you can't pay.
No. You want to know where that money come from?
Well, no, I'm just talking about the debt. Right now, according to this, you have $104,000 in debt for 2021.
No, we don't.
So these numbers are wrong. What I'm going to suggest is, and I'll cut through all the other baloney.
I'll answer that real fast. The money that's owed was donated by us.
Okay, let me finish. You guys are running on a real shoestring, and you always have.
Yes.
You're running in a deficit every year, and people have got to eat that. When you came in, so I sat back in the back with you and asked you going to ask for any money? And you said, well, no. And I said, well, God, I'll ask for $4,000. What I'm getting to is you're running 100% on an emotion and not a lot on business. And I know that burials are not a dollar thing, but then to keep you alive, they are. And I think you don't speak to the if we give you 100,000, and I'm not going to be for that. No, I'm a veteran. There's 5 of us up here. Yes. Am I in favor of continuing to fund you? Yes. And if everybody else wants to give you that huge amount of money, that scares me because you never had that amount of money. You don't show where you would use that amount of money. Okay, that really scares me. What I would, if it happens, whatever amount it would be over what we would normally give you, the 14 grand if that's been a normal amount, that you make all your requisitions through the city? Because your finances scare me, and your ability to run, not to be valuable, not to be the best on these things you could be, not for all the services you ask. And please don't spit in my grave for saying this if you bury me, but I think you need some real financial leadership and help.
Well, actually, I disagree with you respectfully, Mr. Sullivan, because we got 100,000 2 years ago, and we kept that in the reserves, and we spent that well. We're one of the most square wave profits. If you look at our certificate
See,
of good
that's not
standings,
in here. It doesn't show me where you got 100,000 before.
because that wasn't a year before. We've been using the money we got a grant from Lake Baptist 3 years back.
I'd like a bigger picture.
Right. You see my point? And we ran that
more
money and
in-depth
made it run as long as we could.
Okay.
And then we donated ours because that's in all respect. And I keep hearing that. You know what? Here's what we're gonna do. We'll just leave here. Well, you don't have to give us just give us based on what you think. Criticize the budget, like you say. Talk amongst yourselves. But we're well oiled. We've given money out too, you know. And it's not just, you guys keep saying free news, okay? If you want to keep doing the historical data, fine. But we're going to continue doing what we're doing as best as we can do it based on and
I understand that.
And I just ask for any consideration. That's all.
Okay. Don't give up and walk away and stuff. I understand that. I'm just asking to be better organized in my mind. You don't show that 100,000 you got before. I'm looking at this thinking you only got 14. Maybe we gave you 14.
No, what happened, Mr. Schilling, is Lake Baptist Church, remember that gentleman there? He left. He donated because he felt that the virtual team deserved it. And it's been carrying a lot along with the Macaulays. But that's not last year's. We've been doing that for years because they've been closed for a while. So we've been using some of that fund, some of the funding that we invested in all the other resources. That's how that goes about.
I'm all for giving you money. I just for one want to see better management of how it's handled.
I understand that.
Thank you. And that's all the questions I got.
Councilor Tencio.
Yeah, the only, if you want to call it a discrepancy, is that under expenses, you have the military functions and funerals and honors events, 350 at $200 each. That's 70,000. I heard the number at 175 that the funeral home gives you. That goes 61,250. You should have under revenue a line item showing that money coming in.
Well, actually,
instead of, I know you have it going out,
right.
and your explanation is just fine. I'm good with it because I know where the money is coming from, and I know where it's going out. The only difference is that it's not under your revenue items,
right?
And you probably should have a line item here saying 350 funerals at 175 apiece.
You're correct.
You're getting from the funeral homes. That way, that 33,000 at the bottom plus 61 or 70, whatever the number might be, will add up. You'll end up with a like amount. You're probably going to be in the hole a little bit, but you're not. The discrepancy here is $100,000 is what it really looks like, and it really isn't because you are getting that 175 or 200 from the funeral homes, but you're just not accounting.
We're only getting
under revenue.
Respecting.
So if you do that,
right. We're only doing about 41 up to date for this year, the actual annual 41 to 50, because the year's not over. That's why we put the budget. And then we do another 30. So we're not getting as much as you may think because it's not just funerals. We do other events like we talked about with John this morning, but you're correct on our numbers in there. So the only ones that actually supporting the ritual team, basically, the majority rent does come from.
No, that's understood. The only thing I'm saying is that under revenue, you should show 350 funerals at 175 apiece that you're getting from the
You're
funerals.
correct.
And you don't have that. Your explanation is fine. I accept that, but if I were looking at this without your explanation, I'd say, man, this is really, you're really messed up.
Scary, right?
So based on your verbal explanation, I'm fine with what's going on. And you know that with the ritual team,
Mr. Vasquez?
100%.
Council members, being a national commander, I definitely understand your position as being fiduciaries to the public, and each of all of you need to, report to your constituents, and I wouldn't ask you to do anything less. I don't know. I know today's a working session. Would it be possible to have a little grace period, a couple days, for us to be able to get you back a little bit of historical data on what the ritual team has done in the past? Let's say, just tell me what you want. We'll get it to you. If we could just have I don't know how gracious you would be to let us get to that to you prior to you making a decision. And it's clearly obvious this is a point of contention, and we would like to make this a placid decision for you without having
Well, here's the problem. The problem is that Councilor Winter got this on this work session because the budget goes his final approval on Monday, which is the 22nd. So we're having a meeting right after you guys are done to talk about the budget. And this is going to be one of the questions that comes up because I believe Councilor Winter, and I'll let her speak for herself, but it's my understanding that she wants this as a line item on the non-departmental expense.
Correct.
So, there's a lot of gray areas here that I don't know how you're going to get it done in the next hour. Councilor Winter, you want to say something?
Well, I do want to say something. So first of all, I'd like them to explain that there's lots of different ceremonies they give besides the 21 gun salute. So anybody can have a gun salute, but not necessarily a 21 gun salute, correct?
She's correct in that events that also include, it's the 3 volley salute. It's beyond fingers. You're correct, Ms. Winter.
Mm-hmm. So you probably do a lot more, I guess, not 21 gun salutes. You do the other type, probably more of those, right?
You're correct.
Okay, all right. What we could do, Council, is discuss this during our work session, our budget work session this evening, and we can always pass the ordinance later contingent upon satisfaction with financials.
We can always put the money aside and then put the contingencies and how it gets spent.
Yeah.
That's absolutely. And
right.
That wouldn't, I would think, be a problem whatsoever.
Are you done, Councilor Winter?
I am. I mean, I think that we covered everything, just how, with the aging population that we have, there's going to be more and more ceremonies. I think he's probably, you're probably going to have more than 50 as the next couple of years go by, additional. I think you said you're expecting 50 more as 400.
Yes, I just want to advise City Council, we're asking the county to participate too. So listen, just.
Right. Sal, don't be afraid to, I know that you don't like to ask for money. So this is money that you guys need. And we just probably need to discuss it on how it's going to be dispersed is all, until we have some clear financials of what's going on. But I know that you and the other gentlemen that were there tonight donate heavily to this organization, and it's going to go away unless you get some help.
Councilor Morris.
I noticed that in your packet, you included your standing with the Secretary of State of Colorado, and you're in good standing. As a result of that, if Milt Trujillo, who I know, he's a CPA and he was a professor of accounting at the university, he would have had submitted a 992. I think that's the form. It could be a 990. I don't know. You're required to do that every year and disclose what your expenses and revenue was. I think Milton could have a pro forma financial statement, both a P&L and a balance sheet for you. He could do that probably with his eyes closed by Monday. But I just think we need that. But the fact that you're in good standing means that Milton has to have, I mean, he's probably the one that does it for you.
Yes, we filed the 990s. We gave to the mayor. I'm not sure if you guys got a copy of that. And so,
I don't think we have the 990.
we gave that to the mayor, and Lori Winter had it, but we can forward you the 990. You can also check, all nonprofits are registered public record.
Right.
And we're up to date. We're not behind. We file every year. And here's how that works. We're pretty well organized. Your state, you know how Mr. Flores, you said they could probably put a link in the website. Your state numbers should match your IRS numbers. So Colorado, you have to have three things. If you're a 501(c)(3), nonprofit license, and a license to ask the city for money, the solicitation license. We have all three of those we gave to you. And you can always go online. If the public's not aware where your money goes, percentage for what, breakdown. We've always followed that. Milton taught us that. We've been doing that for years. You'll see that it jumped up because, like Mr. Winter says, and some of you know, it's increased. So, but we will have Milton fill out the report. But we are in compliance, and it's getting more burdensome now because of the numbers and the things we do.
Yeah.
Getting back to the dates, Laura, isn't Wednesday, is Monday the deadline? I thought it was the last meeting. I guess the last meeting is Monday, isn't it?
And Mr. Flores, I got to make sure he's not fishing, you know, Milton Trio.
Councilor Schilling, did you have anything you wanted to?
Just, you individually put in a lot of money, and God love you for doing that. And you have to be real careful with the accounting if the money that we give you, that it doesn't in any way show you getting paid for that. That's just your contribution, your fellow's contribution, and that's amazing. Thank you.
Well, just to be honest with you, we don't want to burden the ritual team, because John and I, as leadership, many times have would almost went away. We looked at the guys and we just couldn't do it.
Do you get CSAC? Do you apply for CSAC?
We try to talk to them, but we don't.
Why?
I don't understand why either. We've tried to reach out to them and we don't.
Okay, so it's not them, it's you?
We reached out to them, but they said you didn't. Every time we reached out, it was too late. And at that time, we've been so busy doing events. And they went to the public county commissioners because they told us the same thing you did, to go to CSAC. And that's the problem. All the years go to CSAC, there's priorities. And then we didn't know what our numbers were. Because during that time, the numbers were a little lower, you know what I'm saying, than they were requesting now. So it's getting more, we're starting to lose more. We felt we could handle it. We could try to raise revenue through the donations, and it didn't work.
CSAC, what can I tell you? No, you already don't have any money from it. You need a salesman in there to, at some point in time, to go, you got to ask for the money. They tell you no, it's no, and you didn't lose a thing.
You want to know the truth?
Always here to hear the truth.
We have the heartbeat of the community. And the only ones that understand the truth is the veterans, the people that have morals and ethics. Public became desensitized in all reality.
Well, okay, I just want to make
for donation-wise.
Apply to CSAC. I can't imagine why you would not. Because you're looking for funds. Your fundraising is terrible, and your corporate grant writing is terrible. You got nobody to do that.
Well, we write the grants.
But
we
you get
physically write the state
foundation grants 0, so somebody needs to rewrite them.
Well, there's only one grant we wrote was for that band.
Well, okay, I'm saying there's grants out there that you're missing. It kind of goes to me with the whole financial thing. You have all this great intentions and do so much good, and you're not grabbing the grants, and you're not doing some of the other stuff.
Schilling,
and I'm done. Yeah. I'm done. Okay.
Just to let you know, on the grants, the state of Colorado gets money from the federal government, just like some of your process. And the only grants is for educational and for vans. It's not for a ritual team. Those grants for the vans come from the Veterans Affairs part that the governor appoints, and they get to choose what part of Colorado goes to. So we were able to use that grant that we wrote, and we're actually going to let Legacy of Valor do now, because we work in concert with them to drive the Pueblans to, which we didn't rewrite because we didn't have the support. So we're organized. For you to tell us, there's not a lot out there, Mr. Schilling. I wish you're correct. I wish there's the federal government gives a lot to the state. They leave it up to the state. The state turns around, does what they want with it. Most of the grant money goes to the western slope.
We're getting in a debate now. I don't want to do that. I know there's
Yeah.
private other people that'll do it too. Thank you for your time and what you do.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for being here for your presentation tonight. Thank you for what you do for the community and for all funeral homes. You only mentioned a couple tonight, but I want to clarify all funeral homes.
Oh, we'll move on to number 5, which is the budget work session. Ms. Solano.
Mr. Chairman, City Council, my expert phone a friend is on the Zoom tonight, and Anna's here to join us. What we're going to present tonight, we have electronically, and then you also should have a hard copy. I think we sent it out. I sent it out electronically, but did you have hard copies there as well? Oh, that's unfortunate. I'm going to, we'll see if we pull it up here, we'll see if what we present here tonight is 9 different pages. And in the finance office, Anna doing the work with her finance staff to do what you requested last Monday, and that was to rework the sales tax revenue from the original proposed budget to provide an additional $2.5 million toward the transfer from general fund to the capital improvement fund to add to the road repair. So that would equal $12,500,000. And Anna will walk us through how that was done, because there were, I think you asked another thing, Mr. Chairman, and that was to change the percentage of increase expected in the last 3 months. And Anna accomplished the $2.5 million without changing those last 3 months. And she will share with you why we stopped at generating the 2.5 million that funded the additional amount for roads. So if I can turn it over to Anna, she will, boy, that's hard to see. Can you? Vince, if I give you this packet, would you go make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Because I bet Lori has hers electronically. Oh, yeah, they can see it. Thank you. I can't see it, but I have a hard copy. You can see that? Oh, you're looking up here. Okay. Okay, Anna.
You're on mute. Can't hear you, Anna.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have a new computer. It's causing me issues tonight. I apologize. So what you have in front of you that is now up on the screen is I took what you requested at the last council meeting, and I took our actuals through September for our sales tax revenue. So you'll see on the 2021 side, you'll see all the actual sales tax collections we've had between January and September. And then instead of the 15% that was requested, I started out with the 5% modest increase for the last quarter. When I do that, it increases the sales tax revenue by approximately $3 million. To the right of that 2021 revenue is our 2022 proposed revenue, because when I increased the 2021 estimated revenue based on our actuals plus 5% for the rest of the quarter, I had to adjust 2022 proposed, because our 22 proposed is based on our 2021 estimated plus a 3.17 increase. So when I made that increase to 2021, I had to make a corresponding increase to 2022. That corresponding increase to 2022 was $3.1 million. So if we can go to the second page. So page 2 is a reconciliation of all that I just said. So in your original budget book, we had projected 60.6 million in sales tax and 3.3 million in use tax for a total sales and use tax of 63.9 million. Once I recalculated it using the actuals from January through September and that modest 5% increase, I have a total of sales and use tax of 66.9 million. What that effect does to our B1 is it increases your general taxes by $3 million. It also increases our final fund balance increase or decrease to about 14.7 million. As I said earlier, when I adjust the 2021 estimate, I also have to adjust the 2022 proposed. So in the original budget presentation, I had proposed revenue of 65.9 million. With the new recalculation, I have sales and use tax total of 69.1 million. That effect on our B1 is to increase our general taxes by 3.1 million. And instead of having a negative fund balance, we now show an estimated increase in our fund balance for 2022 of $297,772. So if we move on to page 3, this is how sales and use tax looked in the original budget book that you guys all received in October. So they're the same numbers that we saw on the prior page. And if we go to page 4, you'll now see them adjusted numbers with the 63.4 for sales tax and then the 3.5 million for use tax in 2021. And then in 2022 proposed 65.4 million in sales tax and 3.6 million in use tax. On page 5, I made the second request. I made that change. So this is the original page D77. This is our transfers out to other funds. And as the mayor presented earlier in a work session, we were originally slated to transfer out 5 million for road repairs. If you go to page 6, you will see that the new adjusted shows that we're going to now transfer out 7.5 million to road repairs. Page 7 shows the B1 has of November 8th. This B1 showed that 2021 was estimated to have an increase in our fund balance of 11.6 million, and 2022 proposed was supposed to have a decrease of $349,666. And in the prior variation of exactly what that 349,666 was, it was some changes to contributions and donations and also to some non-departmental contractual agreements. On page 8, you'll see that I've highlighted the areas that have now changed with the recalculations. So general taxes have now changed to 91.2 million in total for 2021 estimated. And the 2022 proposed budget is 96.5 million. If you go down that column, you'll see the transfers out now have 17.824828. That is including the additional 2.5 million for streets. And then you'll see that the adjusted increase in our fund balance. So the 2021 estimated fund balance increase is now projected to be 14.7 million, and the 2022 proposed budget is projected to show an increase of fund balance of 295,772. Your very last page I provided just to have a reconciliation of all the changes of our fund balance since the budget was originally presented. So originally as presented and in your budget books, it was a balanced budget with no increase or decrease to fund balance. On October 25th, the mayor presented some changes to the heart maintenance, to United Way Vita program, and to the economic dashboard. That ended us with a use of reserves in the amount of $274,666. On November 8th, he presented an additional change for the Mount Carmel Service Center, and our fund balance was going to be a decrease of $349,66. With the changes that you've requested at the last work session, as of today, with the sales tax recalculation that we just discussed, and the additional allocation to roads of $2.5 million, our fund balance now comes to that $295,772. That's all of the presentation that I have for the changes that were requested at the last work session. I'll be happy to discuss any questions you have.
Questions, comments? Councilor Tencio?
I guess my question is, why an extra 2.5 million for streets? That's an arbitrary number to begin with, and we're already putting 10 million. I would think that the 2.5 million could be used for something else in the city other than, for fire stations or police vehicles or beautification of our streets. The corner beautification things downtown are a mess. We could probably use a little money for that. I think 10 million is enough for streets. To tell you the truth, an extra 2.5 is just an arbitrary number. And God bless you, Mark, for throwing it out, but I think it's unnecessary.
Well, arbitrary means that there was no meaning behind it. And the reality of it is that when 2A passed and the actual ballot initiative said that it was revenue for roads. I asked the finance department, Laura and the mayor, to re-look at the way that the calculations were going on sales tax, that I believe that there was 2.5, and quite frankly, there's probably 6 or 7 million in there. But I, just off of conservative numbers, said that there was at least a $2.5 million adjustment that could be made based on those numbers.
My point is that there's
I'm
other
saying that
needs
the
other
community
than
voted
streets.
for revenue for roads, not for parks, not for fire stations, not for anything else. They asked for the roads, they approved the roads, and so that's why I brought it up. That was the only reason. It wasn't arbitrary.
My point is that there are other needs other than streets. We have 10 million could take care of all the streets in that we need to take care of in the next few years. If we do 10 million a year, there's other things we need other than streets, except for streets as a vote getter.
Are you making a motion?
Can't make a motion in a work session.
You can, are you asking for direction?
Well, I'm asking that we use that money for something else other than streets.
Sure, Councilor Flores.
Drafted the ballot issue. And as I recollect reading that ballot issue, it said that we would use a minimum of $5 million for roads. And then it said plus other. It seemed like there was, did I misunderstand that?
No, you're correct. The commitment in the ballot issue was 5 million.
As a minimum.
At a minimum, not a maximum, a minimum.
Minimum. But it did have, but if it was more, if it was 6 million, there was the opportunity to be flexible and use that additional million for something else in that 1 year.
Yeah, the word commitment was chosen carefully. If we had put in a minimum or maximum, if we had put in a requirement, then a lot of legal problems would occur. Earmarking, and this is forever. I mean, it's not a 5-year half-cent sales tax or a 5-year public safety tax. This is forever. So it's a commitment. Council can follow Councilor Aliff's advice. Council can follow Councilor Atencio's advice. They're both legally correct.
One clarification, can we put up that sales tax spreadsheet again? Just so I can put everybody's mind at ease.
It should be page 1, Daryl.
Yeah, page 1. And make it real big. Actually, we just need to see the last 3 months. So just make it, there you go. Okay, this is going to be a lot easier if you look at 2021 on the left. And if you look at October, November, and December, it's the bottom 3 numbers. The finance department is figuring that there's going to be only a 5% increase over 2020 in October, November, December, based off of only a 5% increase in sales and use tax over in October, November, December. We came up with $3 million. But now look at January through September. 19, 21, 57, 62, 22, 22, 19, 21. The reality that they would be 5% increases over October, November, December is really not going to happen. You're going to be looking at 15 to 20% increases over the previous month in all of those months. So in June or July, whenever those numbers all reconcile, you're going to come up with another $10 million. $10 to $15 million, in my opinion. Again, I'm no financial director or anything else like that. But if it just stays where it's been for the entire year, the windfall is going to be huge. I didn't come to city council and say, listen, we need to take that $10 million or $15 million and do $25 million to the roads for 2022. I said, I think that it's a legitimate conservative number to say, we know that we're going to get $3 million. Let's spend $3 million. Let's show the community that overwhelmingly voted for revenue for roads, that we're committed to revenue for roads. If the ballot initiative said, hey, revenue for anything we choose, then we ought to be able to say, yeah, you know what, we can spend it any way that we want to spend it. But the reality of it is, I can tell you everybody that voted for it, and this goes back to the street repair utility, everybody that voted for it has the mentality that that's what's going to happen. And I didn't even say, let's take all the money. I just said, let's take a portion of that money. So I think there's plenty of money. I think it's a cogent argument. And I think that for 4 of us, this is our last hurrah in 4 years to be able to say, yeah, we actually did what we said we were going to do and spend some money on what the voters voted for. That's my argument.
I totally agree with your argument. My argument is that we said that we're going to put $10 million. We didn't say we're going to put 12.5. We didn't say we're going to put 25. We said we're going to put 10. And that's what we told the voters. The voters actually thought that we were getting $567,000. They didn't know what we were going to get for 2022. So the mayor said we're getting $5 million out of the general fund. He didn't say how we were going to get that. Nothing was said about that at all. All he said was we're going to get 5 million from general fund plus the street utility plus HUTF, and that adds up to 10 million. I'm just saying that we got a lot of other things to do in the city other than streets. And I mean, yeah, it's a feel good thing and everybody wants streets, but again, we got a lot of other needs in the city. That's all I'm saying.
Good point. Counselor Schilling?
I agree with everybody. However, the number one thing in people's minds all the time are the roads, and we did promise them help with that, the little train that CAD, the water tax or whatever we're calling it, or fee, not a tax, a fee. The feds are flush with money. We're giving out money to the nonprofits. And I think they're all pretty happy with what's going on. I think politically, the four of us are gone, but we're going to make the incoming council look like heroes by doing this. And I think that's what the public expects. They want as much money as they can get right now for roads. That's, Larry, what you're talking about. I think Mark's going to be right. 2022, they're going to have more cash than they know what to do with. And then that would, I mean, you're going to be here on council. You guys can pull that out at that point in time. But I think politically, it means nothing to the four of us. It's not going to do us any good or not. I think we just do it, put as much money as we can into it this year and let the citizens reap the benefits. And then you figure out down the road. And again, Mark, I think it's right. You're going to have a lot of extra sales tax cash you're going to be with next year. So I'd be for keeping it all for the roads. That's what people expect. Thanks.
Counselor Macaulay-Bachicha?
Yeah, I think that's what people voted for, was for the roads. And I don't know how council feels about this, but the street utility fee, I think the community would like to see it go away. And so I know, Bob, you keep saying that's the little train that can, but for residential, it's, well, it was, I guess, $1. I think it's up to $3 now. But for small business, some small businesses are held to the same fee as a large scale business like Lowe's or Walmart for their water fee. And so I'd like to see that go away.
Remember, we're not always going to be flush with cash, guys. So those tax revenues are going to tumble at some point in time. It's the only thing that creates stability.
But council can bring it back.
You can do whatever you want. Or the new 7 will, 5, 4, however many are new.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, hopefully we can do something about that before the end of the year.
Thanks so much.
I think it's moot because the consensus is to keep the 2.5 million in there. So I can argue all night long.
On the
It won't do me any good.
On the draft agenda for the November 22nd, Councillor Macaulay-Bachicha has proposed, and it's sitting on the agenda, a suspension of the $2.8 million estimated revenue from street utility repair. So I think direction, well, we would really like direction, the mayor, Anna and I, so we can get the budget ordinance correct next Monday. If the intention of city council is to suspend on page number F32 and F33, if you bought a budget book, we would in effect be in, we just increased our bottom line 2.5 million. We would be decreasing it by the 2.8 million that is built into the street utility fund budget already. And we would be wanting your direction on, do we backfill from fund balance the $300,000 shortfall. So we would be ending up right back at 10 million if that's the intention of council. But we would just need the direction in how to prepare that final ordinance and the final B1 in budget and fund balance. So it's not really a vote in advance, it's just direction in advance.
Anybody have any comments and ideas on that? Councillor Winter? You're on mute.
He's been doing that tonight. I don't know what the deal is with staying on mute. But Laura, we've already collected that money. So we collect it monthly.
Well, the fund balance of 21 and Anna there has a balance in it, but we've proposed to collect another 2.8 million in the year 2022, which is included in the proposed budget.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. I gotcha.
Any other questions or comments? Counselor Tencio?
Well, you're right. And so are you, because we don't know what 2023 is going to be like. We're not going to get federal stimulus.
Plug in.
We're not going to get federal stimulus money in 23. The reason 21 is so rosy is because we got,
And you need to move.
everybody in town got whatever they got from federal stimulus money. We also got COVID money and all that other stuff. So that's what was so scary about I mean, I like the idea of debrucing, but projecting money for 23, 24, and 25 is we don't know what we're going to get then, but we're still committed to the people out there for 10 million a year for streets. It ain't going to be there in 23, 24, and 25. I won't guarantee it, but that's my projection. So I agree with you. I mean, that's a feel-good issue to get rid of the street utility for the people, because everybody that I've talked to doesn't like it. But then again, Bob is right. In 23, 24, and 25, if we don't have it, we don't have streets.
I think all she's asking for is to suspend it for 2022.
Exactly.
So, I would support that. If you want direction.
Me too.
If you want direction, I'd support suspending it for 2022. You're the swing vote. Yeah, so I think that you have support.
And then along with that, if we remove 2.8 million out of the budget, direction to Anna and I is to pull the shortfall of that 300,000 out of reserves so that we are right back at $10 million for roads in 2022.
Why don't you budget for 6% increase rather than a 5?
Well,
have to give all this money back now? If we're suspending it as of January 1st.
You're suspending collections January through December.
Yeah, we're suspending the
Collections, collections.
No
Suspending the
rebate
budget,
stuff.
right.
Okay,
We're suspending the planned collection of $2.8 million in 2022.
cool. We'll push
So we would be the difference between 2.8 takeaway and 2.5 add. Would be 300,000 to the swing, and we can take it out of reserves. So we're back at a $10 million for roads for 2022.
So we're pushing it to the new council. One of our new members is here, so we're going to push that decision off to them. Great.
No, you won't. It'll get voted on first reading on Monday and second
But then
reading.
to bring it back or not,
It would be
next year
voted,
will be up to that council.
it would be voted on in
Yes, the
2021.
suspension can continue until council feels the need to bring it back if they need to.
Yes,
Right.
the vote would be 2021 because it would impact the proposed budget that city council has to approve for 2022.
And we,
I want to see you bring it back.
well, that's going to be really tough, and then that could be a problem. By just suspending it, Mr. City Attorney, it doesn't take any of the legality off the books. They don't have to redo another ordinance or all that kind of stuff again?
No,
Okay, thank
you
you.
just suspend it for 12 months.
Okay, thank you.
Well, for 12 months, you just suspend it until further notice.
Right.
That's what I thought, until council felt that they needed it again.
Well, we have an enterprise. The enterprise has money. The enterprise has contracts. We just can't shut down the enterprise legally. That's going to take some economic and some legal work. The direction I got was to let's suspend it for 12 months and then see how we're doing with sales tax in 2022 and maybe suspend it for another. But suspension is really the only option now.
And we can only work 1 year at a time. we can't suspend for 2023.
No,
Our budget year is 20.
That's not your power because that's up to the new council.
True.
The new council will do the 2023 budget. You can't tell them what to do in 2023. That's up to them. So just to be clear, not everybody gets their bill on the same day. So the ordinance that I prepared says that it's suspended with your first bill in January. So you don't owe it for January and you don't owe it for the next 11 months for a total of 12.
Do we have time for a report from Chief Noller?
Oh, we need one more direction. If the ordinance is going to be set to go, we know what to do with the 2.8, and we'll take the 300,000 out of reserve so that we have a full $10 million in streets. But we do have the Veterans Ritual Team that we can address with the new next year, or we can change the last slide that Anna showed you and add it this year in any amount council directs to the non-departmental. The mayor's also expressed the same concerns that you have with respect to looking at those budgets presented.
Yeah, can I, as city attorney, I'm gonna require that we have a contract with the ritual team, that we require that they make quarterly reports. So whatever amount you want to give is fine, but they're going to have to sign a contract and they're going to have to give us their numbers. They're going to have to report. Now, the 990 report should have everything you need. And I'm questioning whether they are a 501c3 organization, because if they're a nonprofit, they have a license to solicit from the state. Those are the 2 state permits, but I have not seen a 501c3 letter of designation from the Internal Revenue Service. No, those are state. I've looked at it. So the first one is, yeah, they're a nonprofit corporation. Second one is, yes, they're authorized to solicit contributions, but I haven't seen anything that they are tax exempt. And that's the one that counts.
It may be.
No.
It may be better that we just give them a contribution out of our council contingencies for the end of the year. If you want to do that, I don't know.
I think there's 47,000.
I wouldn't give them that.
47,000.
I mean, I don't think. I think that's too much.
No, I don't want to get 47,000.
I think we need to talk to everybody who wants to give them money.
I do.
Okay, how much?
Mark,
Yes.
I certainly don't have a problem with what Dan mentioned and what Bob mentioned earlier. I mean, we can go ahead with 100,000 and then hold on to it and I guess as they bring invoices in, we can dole out the money.
Okay, who supports 100,000? Larry and Lori.
100,000 with condition that it's all run through the city and we're not getting receipts for shoe polish and all this other kind of stuff. It was for gas. And I mean, I want the city to control the money. I'll support any resolution for 100 grand, but I want the city to control the money. Because I don't know that they know
Yeah,
how.
I think that's fair until until they provide some better financials. I think that's fair. I definitely think that they need to keep going, and I think we should help them as being home of the heroes. But yeah, I think that's a good way to do it, Bob.
Well, if the county gave them 35,000 and we gave them 25,000, that's $60,000.
Well, they're asking for 100.
He was, okay.
We don't know.
I don't think they're set on how much the county's given them yet.
I think we need to see the financials. Or
I
whatever.
agree, but how about we match the county? Because they don't know how to ask for money. Guys, when they got 4,000, it's only because we were sitting back in there. They really
right.
have no idea of business and how it all should work.
Right. You know, they you know, there's two things your mother always said: don't brag about yourself and don't ask for money. So I think they have a really hard time asking for that help. And they definitely need it.
Okay, so we've agreed that
I don't see any reason why we can't set 100,000 aside and be in control.
Okay, you only have three people that support 100,000. So I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay.
So we need to come to some alternative of.
How about matching the county?
But we need to find out if the county's doing it.
The sequence of the county's budget, always 30, 40 days after the city passes a budget, because they're waiting to hear what your decision is on the CSAC contribution so that they can match it. And so they're behind by about 3 weeks to 4 weeks.
I say if you do, this is just my suggestion, that we do it out of contingencies rather than make it in a line item on the budget.
Well, the money's there.
Well, no.
7,000.
It is there, and also if the city's controlling it, if they don't spend that full $100,000, they don't get it. So they would have to, you know, to access all of that, they would have to have invoices appropriate for that.
Well, I think Mark figured we're not going to get the votes for 100. So let's move on. Can we ask for a motion? It's getting late. Can we support what the county does with verification that the county actually is going to give them that money?
Huh? What happens if the county?
Let's just.
Well, then I guess we're still on the hook.
Can I?
30.
Hey, you guys.
Can I make a
Anna's
suggestion?
trying to talk here.
Can I make a suggestion? I know that there's concerns about their financials and getting more information from the county, and Dan wants to see their 501c3 status. You know, this budget by charter has to be passed by December 1st. So we have to have an answer if we want a clean ordinance by next Monday. So my suggestion would be, you know, we are going to have a lot of money in fund balance. If we are able to get them to come back with the additional information we requested and some clean financials, well, then at any time you guys could run a secondary ordinance that would budget and appropriate them additional funds out of fund balance. Yeah. Once we have a clear idea of what exactly they need, their financials, and their standing with the IRS.
Common sense.
That sounds good. Is everybody good with that?
Yeah. So we're passing
Does
that
that
on
make
to the
sense
next
to you,
council, right?
No.
I'm loving this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that sound all right to you, Dan?
Okay.
We'll take our
Good.
advice.
One other thing.
Yeah, just one more clarification. So our ordinance is clean and good to go. It is planning for Anna to remove the street utility fee from the budget.
It's not veto proof.
No, it will be, the ordinance is prepared for next Monday.
All I'm saying is it's a 4-3. I mean, it's not veto proof.
And then also to how the ordinance will look next Monday,
The ordinance on.
the budget, the 2022 proposed
I mean,
budget.
I'm talking about the street repair utility.
Yeah, but if we remove the street utility fee, suspend it for 2.8 million and add the 2.5 to the capital improvement.
How can you move that when there's no ordinance yet passed to suspend it?
It is all on the same agenda next week, and if we.
But it's just first reading on the.
No, it's sitting as an emergency ordinance, I believe.
I drafted it. Councilor Alice is correct. I drafted it for 2 readings. second reading being December 13. I can make it an emergency. The mayor has checked with the Board of Waterworks, who does the billing, and just not billing in January and going till the end of the year is no problem. But it's two readings. Councilor Aliff is correct.
Okay, you guys don't have your mics on.
They're billing, they're billing stormwater, wastewater, and they still have to bill zero. So that's part of the whole package.
Costs money to bill zero. Okay, just wondering.
One more time for direct, and can it be an
Well,
emergency
I can,
ordinance, so it could all be finished, or we have a?
Yeah, because of, I can get an emergency ordinance because of the budget deadline set in the charter. That's easily done. I just add a word and put in a safety clause. I can make it an emergency ordinance for next Monday.
Need to know what the dollar is, right?
It's 2.8 million to suspend the street utility.
The street repair utility, we're way past the other.
The other will have a separate ordinance, but the street utility
But
proposed income.
here's my question, and I'm just throwing this out there because I think this is a very difficult situation on this street repair utility. Assume that council votes 4-3 to suspend the street repair utility, okay? We pass the budget 7-0 with the street repair utility money out of it, okay? The next morning, the mayor vetoes city council on the street repair utility. Then what happens?
Well, let me interject.
Please.
Lawyers should infrequently interject, but I think there are more than 4 votes to suspend. I think there are 5 or more.
Well, that's how you figure out. It has to be 5 council people.
Yeah.
To override the veto. So vetoes override it.
So with all respect, Councilor Schilling, I think you're the only no vote.
Larry's the no vote.
I was just asking for
Yeah.
technical, am I correct?
I thought
It
Dennis
takes
was
5 to
out.
override the veto.
Correct.
That was my only thought. That's all I
Yeah.
wanted.
Okay, I'm fine then. That
There
just
was
was,
5 then.
we're good.
Somebody may change it.
Do we,
So I will make that an emergency ordinance, so everything will be done next Monday.
thank you.
And the proposed budget ordinance will also be as you direct this evening.
And thank you.
Now, do we come up with a number for the bridge, potential bridge?
We're not doing anything
We're
until we,
passing that on, we're passing the buck.
no,
We'll keep trying.
no. We're gonna find out what the county's doing. We're trying to get a 990. We're
Okay.
trying to come up with,
And then we'll
a
figure the
number.
number.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Everybody good on that? Do we want
Yes.
Chief Noller Chief Noller? We just wanted, all we wanted, Chief, was an update on the misinformation that the TV stations were saying that an officer got shot or whatever. Could you just update us on that?
Yeah, I don't know the why that story went out. But the fact of the matter is none of our personnel, sworn or civilian, were injured in today's events. I can't go into a whole lot of detail about the actual event itself because it is under investigation. We activated the 10th Judicial District CIT team and they were conducting the investigation as we speak. We do still have officers up on the scene, securing the scene so that they can research some areas in the morning. But all of our personnel are fine, a little shaken up, but they're good to go otherwise. It was in the 1300 block of East 19th.
Anybody else get hurt?
There was one individual that's deceased as a result of an officer involved shooting. So yes, sir.
That's never good news there, is it?
No.
Anyway, thank you.
You're welcome.
We
Thank you, sir.
appreciate it. We appreciate it. Anybody got anything else? Let's go home.